Hey, what's happening guys, Chris here, showing off more of those Halo 5 weapons, and in this video, I'll be focusing on all of the Covenant weapons in the game. There's a total of 9 Covenant weapons that you'll be able to use whilst you play Halo 5. The first one is the T-55 Directed Energy Rifle, or Storm Rifle. The Storm Rifle is an automatic gun and an upgraded version of the Plasma Rifle we've seen in earlier Halo games, now including a modular coil set and a high mounted cooling shroud and extended barrel, helping the gun perform better than the original Plasma Rifle. The weapon shoots superheated plasma and it's got a rapid fire rate able to dish out some damage easily on targets at closer to medium ranges, though it can become harder to stay on target and keep your shots focused on an enemy that's further away, down to the weapon's accuracy getting worse with prolonged fire. The gun has 100 battery units and doesn't need reloading, though it will overheat after firing for too long. The Storm Rifle is very effective at taking out shields but not quite as good on armour. It's best firing in controlled bursts to keep the weapon's accuracy higher, and in close range engagements firing in full auto. The T-54D Directed Energy Pistol, or Plasma Pistol for short, is another weapon used by the Covenant. It's a newer model to the Type 25 version from previous Halo games, and also fires superheated plasma. It can fire in a semi-automatic mode, and just like its predecessor, it can also shoot an overcharged blast when you hold the trigger to charge it up, allowing you to temporarily disable vehicles and overload enemy shields, making the plasma gun a very handy weapon for all sorts of reasons. It has some decent overall accuracy, though its muzzle velocity is quite low, meaning that you'll have to trace your targets over distances. Because of this, it's a better weapon for close to medium ranges, though charged up shots have a slight homing effect that makes the shot gravitate towards an enemy, making the overcharged shot a bit more accurate than the standard ones. The T-54 is slightly stronger and more streamlined than the T-25, plus your shots track enemies a bit better when using the Smart Scope feature, though the rate of fire is a little bit slower than the last version of the Plasma Pistol. The T-51 Anti-Personnel Grenade, or more commonly known as the Plasma Grenade, is a Covenant anti-personnel weapon that explodes for a short time after coming to a rest. It's often referred to as the sticky grenade as it can stick to targets and vehicles. This usually makes it more effective at taking out faster forms of transport such as ghosts, as once the grenade makes contact it won't bounce off and it'll stick to its surface. The plasma grenade has a 3-second fuse after hitting the surface, making it slightly easier to avoid than the human equivalent, though the grenade can easily kill an enemy if they're close enough to the blast radius when it explodes. The T-57B is another new version of an older weapon for Halo 5 that replaces the T-51 carbine from the other games. Commonly known simply as the Covenant carbine, it's a recoil operated charger fed gun that fires caseless projectiles in a semi-automatic mode. It has a magazine size of 20 rounds and a maximum ammo capacity of 100 rounds, the equivalent of 5 magazines. The Covenant carbine is capable of killing enemies at all ranges down to its high accuracy. Its fast muzzle velocity makes the gun much easier to use over long distances and allows the weapon to perform better in medium to long range encounters. The T-57 has got a noticeably quicker fire rate from the last model, and it also reloads faster too. Next up is the T-56D Guardian Munitions Launcher, aka the Needler, a newer version of the popular T-33 variant that is widely used by Covenant forces. The Needler is an automatic weapon that fires explosive crystalline shards which can be seen protruding from the top of the gun. When the trigger is pulled, the needle is fed from the top into the barrel and fired. The needles home into the targets and impale it with extreme precise accuracy at close to medium ranges. Needles detonate a few seconds after impaling the enemy, which doesn't cause much damage, though if enough needles hit the same target at once, the needles will super combine, synchronizing their explosions for extreme and usually lethal damage. The blast from the explosion is often capable of damaging and even killing some groups of enemies that are close to it, and it's sometimes quite easy to take out several groups of weaker enemies in just one explosion. You'll have 22 shots per magazine and a maximum ammo capacity of 66 rounds, so basically 3 magazines. And because the needles home in on the targets, so long as you're firing in the general direction of the target, they should be quite easy to kill, though the weapon becomes almost unusable at long range as the needles will only track the targets within about 64 meters. A new weapon introduced in Halo 5 is the Type 53 Plasma Bolt Launcher, or Plasma Caster. The Plasma Caster fires balls of plasma that can stick to targets and detonate when fired with the Smart Link, but also bounce off other surfaces like walls or the floor when hip fired. The gun can fire either several regular rounds in a semi-automatic mode, which arc slightly, or deploy its side panels and fire a single charge blast, which has a much larger explosion than the normal shots. The charge shot also has a much longer range when fired and sticks to the surface it lands on, causing a bigger explosion when it detonates, and it also projects smaller cluster bombs from the blast. The Type 27 Special Application Sniper Rifle, normally referred to as the Beam Rifle, is another weapon used by the Covenant, used for long-range firefights. It fires accelerated ionized particles in a semi-automatic mode. Through the ionization of hydrogen gas and the use of a linear accelerator, the gun emits a powerful beam at hypervelocity speeds, and it has some very high damage and range, alongside its pinpoint accuracy, making the Beam Rifle a perfect weapon for dealing with enemies at long range. Although the Beam Rifle fires in a semi-automatic mode, rapidly shooting the gun in quick succession will cause it to overheat, forcing a cooldown and making it temporarily unusable. The T-58 light anti-armor weapon, aka the fuel rod cannon, is a shoulder-fired heavy explosive weapon used by the Covenant. Just like its predecessor, the T-33, it's a semi-auto launcher that shoots 38mm radioactive explosive projectiles, capable of dealing very high damage to both infantry and vehicles. It can hold 5 rounds per magazine before it will need reloading, and you're able to carry 15 rounds at a time. Enemies just outside the immediate kill range will be damaged by the weapon's splash damage, and we usually only need a few follow-up shots with a secondary weapon to finish off. Though a direct hit with the fuel rod cannon kills most targets instantly, and deals a huge amount of damage on most vehicles. The muzzle velocity is fairly low, meaning that you'll have to judge where to aim more when going for targets at longer ranges, which also makes the weapon more ideal for medium range battles, as using the launcher in CQC could cause you to take damage from the blast, but at long range the weapon becomes harder to use, as the shot will take more time before it reaches its target. And last up is the ancient Type 1 Energy Sword, a Covenant close quarters favourite. The Energy Sword uses plasma energy to create a blade which is used as a melee weapon. The sword has 100 battery units and the battery's energy is reduced for each successful strike. Each killing strike from the sword will drain the battery by 10% of its energy. Usually killing enemies in one blow, the Energy Sword can take out most enemies with ease and is a favoured weapon used by elite warriors. Although the Plasma Sword can deal lethal amounts of damage, because it's a melee only weapon, it's useless against targets at range, making it a better secondary weapon to switch to if an enemy gets close enough to use it on. So these are all the main Covenant weapons that you'll see in Halo 5. If you haven't seen all the UNSC or Forerunner weapons in the game, make sure you check out those videos too on my channel. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to see loads more new and upcoming. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.